and quality of service. Basically, when we consider this particular topic, we mainly focus on congestion control and quality of service. Okay. Uh, it's like I cannot say I will just go with congestion control and I don't bother about quality of service. I cannot say like that because both are interrelated. If I achieve congestion control properly, I will be able to achieve quality of service. If I achieve quality of service, I would have achieved congestion control also. So that is the relationship we have here. So if you like, I cannot just go with any one of these two things. So basically these two things like congestion control and quality of service, we are trying to refer with respect to the data traffic. Like you are sending some data, that data has to have measures so that we do not have any congestion. That data needs to have some type of quality. So when I say quality, it is something like I can say minimum delay, maximum reliability, okay, or maximum bandwidth, minimum jitter, okay, like that I can consider some of the qualities of services. So in congestion, basically we try to avoid traffic congestion. Okay, like in real time when I say a particular road is there, if I say the road is congested, it means with respect to how many people are accessing that particular road. But with respect to quality of service I have to speak, I will talk with respect to how that particular road is there, whether there are any potholes or whether there are any manholes available, or how much bandwidth, like how much wider that particular road is there. Okay, so are you getting my point, whatever I am trying to say? Yes, I cannot hear if someone is responding. I don't know. Are you able to understand? Just a
Yes,
minute.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, if I consider a particular road, if the road is not very wide, okay, what happens because of that? The vehicles will be moving very slow. Because of that, you are going to have delay. So, this is with respect to quality of service. Okay, so if the road is very narrow, you are going to experience delay, or I can say your vehicles will be moving very slow. So the quality of service with respect to delay is not good here. Because of this delay, what happens? You may have congestion. If more people are trying to enter that particular narrow road, you are going to have congestion. So can I say like here the delay is not affecting congestion? I cannot say, because if the road is thin, I am going to have less bandwidth. Okay, and less number of vehicles can access that one. If more number of vehicles coming, congestion will happen. So like that I can consider like congestion and quality of service, they are going to have some kind of relationship. Let us consider I have highway. Okay, like for example, ORR, outer ring road is there. Okay, you are going to have maximum bandwidth. Vehicles will be moving without any congestion, or vehicles will be moving without any delay. So I won't have any congestion on that one. But suddenly just consider someone is trying to have a rally on outer ring road. Can I say like you won't have congestion? There will be congestion, because when I say rally is there, more vehicles will be coming there. That means when the data which you are sending, if the data is something like this and a sufficiently available bandwidth, you are not going to face any problem. But suddenly if you have a burst data, then you are going to have some kind of problem. So like that I can relate these things with the real-time traffic and try to understand what is congestion, what is quality of service. Okay, so far the two things are clear. What is congestion, what is quality of service?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So to understand this thing, we shall try to define two terminology. Like we have some terminology here. We will try to define two words like traffic descriptor and traffic profiles. We will look at this one. So traffic descriptors, under traffic descriptors we have things like average data rate, peak data rate and maximum burst size, effective bandwidth. Okay. So peak data rate, average data rate, maximum burst size. Okay, these are the three things. Along with this one, we also have effective bandwidth. Okay, effective bandwidth. These are the four traffic descriptors. For example, if they ask you in exam, describe the traffic descriptors, you will have to talk about these four things. Peak data rate, average data rate, maximum burst size and effective bandwidth. So as you all know, what is like from this particular diagram, it is clear for you like average data rate means if I consider 10 seconds of duration, within that 10 seconds, how much data we are sending. Okay. So from here, if I consider this is 10 seconds, this is again another 10. If I consider average data rate within this duration, I'll consider how many number of bits we are taking here, that divided by 100. For example, 1000 bytes I am sending here, 1000 by 10. Again in this particular duration, I am sending 2000 bytes, 2000 by 10. Again in this one I am sending 1000 by 10. Like that I can consider. But if I consider for the entire duration, what is the average like average data rate, then it will be 4000 bits or bytes whatever we have divided by 30. Like that we are going to have average data rate. But when you consider maximum data rate or peak data rate, it is nothing but what is the maximum speed. Like for example, here I might be sent. Let me erase all these things. Here I have things like 1 Mbps, 2 Mbps, 3 Mbps, 4 Mbps, 5 Mbps. So it's like normally what I will do is I will be sending some chat messages. Okay, it takes something in kilobits. Okay, kilobits. If I am exchanging some messages in WhatsApp or Facebook, I may utilize some kilobits. But if you are using some voice call, okay, then your requirement will be more, like 64 kbps or at least 1 Mbps I will say. Or if you are going with some video, I will have 4 Mbps requirement, something like that. So here it's like the utilization of the channel, it is not going to be same. If you are just sending a text message, it will be like this. Suddenly you want to have some video call, so it is jumping like this. So what is the maximum data rate which is requested by user? That is considered to be peak data rate. Okay. So if I just consider average data rate, I am going to consider entire duration and divide with time. I will get average data rate. The peak data rate is what is the maximum data rate that is being requested. So from the left side, like whatever the y-axis we have, from that we need to see what is the peak requirement. If I say 4 megabits per second is the requirement, I need to have bandwidth sufficient to transfer 4 megabits. Okay, if I have just 1 megabit and if your peak data rate is 4 megabit, then you cannot control congestion. Okay, so that is the thing we need to remember. Then maximum burst size. For example, I have sudden variation with respect to traffic. Usually I will be sending 1 Mbps, something like that. Suddenly I went to something like 4 Mbps. But if I have that 4 Mbps or 2 Mbps something just for 50 milliseconds, sorry, 0.5 millisecond or 1 millisecond, then your network can handle that one. But if you say like I am going to have that maximum or peak data rate for a continuous period of 60 milliseconds, then your network may not be able to handle that. Okay. So let us consider a case where we have in general we have this mobile communication, right? Cellular system. Let us consider BSNL is there. Okay, so BSNL in general, let us consider 100 Mbps is the bandwidth which they allocate for a particular user, or maybe let us say a group of people. Okay, so daily and an average they are going to utilize some 50 Mbps. Okay, then this 100 Mbps will be sufficient for them. Okay, so available is 100 Mbps and your average is 50 Mbps, then I won't have any kind of problem. So I will be communicating. Just consider for a second or 1 millisecond, we had some 60 Mbps or I have something like 100 Mbps. Okay, even though I can cater the needs. But if you say continuously I am going to have 100 Mbps or continuously let us say I am going to have 110 Mbps, I am going to have problem. Or even in this case, if I consider like for 0.5 millisecond, if I have 120 Mbps also, okay, there are ways how you can adjust that. Okay, so it's something like I have a bucket, okay, and from what tap water is coming into this one. I have a hole in this particular one. Okay, constantly water will be coming out. If the water is completely filled, the water will be like, if the bucket is completely filled, water will be coming out of this particular bucket. Same thing happens in the network also. Okay, so if you are giving enough pressure, in that case constantly data will be going out of this particular network. But if you are trying to pour more and more, then like how water is filling out of the bucket, your packets will be discarded. So these are very, very important. Like when I consider the case of average data rate or peak data rate, or what is the maximum burst size we have, these are very, very important. So considering all these things, you will have to find what is the effective bandwidth we require. Okay, but this is not easy to calculate what is the effective bandwidth requirement we have for a particular network, that cannot be found easily. Okay, so these are the four traffic descriptors we have. Then we have traffic profiles. Like when I say traffic profiles, we have three things here, like constant bitrate, variable bitrate, and bursty noise. Okay, so as you can see from the diagram, constant bitrate means for the entire duration I am going to have constant data generation. Okay, so I won't have any problem if I have something like this. Variable bitrate, something like this I have. Here also I won't have any problem. Okay, according to this one I can see what is the peak data rate I have, what is the average data rate. By considering all those things, we can allocate some bandwidth. Okay, but you are going to have problems when you have these kind of things. Okay, burst. And if this burst is lasting for some time, there is no problem. But if it is stretching for some more duration, like longer durations, then you are going to have some kind of problem. Okay. So these are the three traffic profiles we have, and bursty data, like it is a one category of data where we are going to have sudden variation with respect to data rate. Okay, suddenly it may be like you were having zero traffic, suddenly it will have 1 Mbps or 2 Mbps within some microseconds. Okay, so like that, if you have, we call it as bursty data. Okay, so we have defined what are the traffic descriptors and what are the three traffic profiles we have: bursty data, constant bit rate, variable bit rate. And when we come up with congestion control algorithms, we need to address all the three cases. Okay, so next thing is congestion. So basically the important issue is uh, when we consider a packet switched network, we are not establishing a particular path from source to destination. Okay, or I can say like in telecommunication, you are going to have a dedicated path from source to destination. But the same thing when I consider a packet switched network, you are not going to have a dedicated path established from source to destination. So when I have dedicated path from source to destination like in telecommunication, I won't have any problem with respect to congestion. Okay, but since we are going with a packet switched network where we are not establishing any what we say, any path from source to destination, we are going to have this congestion. Okay, so here the congestion will happen in two cases. The first case is if I have some capacity, like network can handle 100 packets per second, but you are trying to send 1000 packets per second. The number of packets sent to the network are greater than whatever the capacity we have for that particular network. In such case, I will have congestion. Okay, because like you are trying to generate more packets, but the network do not have that particular capacity. Okay, so we need to look at the network performance to clearly understand what is this congestion and how it is getting affected. Okay, so see here, like where why exactly congestion happens. If we consider a router, basically it happens like you are going to have some input queues, you are going to have some output queues. Wherever we have the concept of queuing, okay, these queues are available, there you are going to have the concept of congestion. Okay, so for example, let us consider we have a ticket vending machine or we have ATM. Okay, one ATM will be there, multiple people will be trying to access. Okay, you are going to have some queue there. Okay, people will come and stand in queues. If more and more people come, you are going to have congestion. Okay, so let us consider in this case, if the ATM is working properly, then traffic, like people will be moving, they will be taking and they will be coming out. But let us consider I have a person who is utilizing the ATM service and he is trying to give some wrong PIN number or he is trying to keep the ATM card in reverse. What happens? The next people they are going to face delay. Okay? Or let us consider ATM is not working properly. Then also you are going to have more and more delay. So the congestion will happen and the quality of service will decrease. Quality in this case, like you have to wait longer durations. Okay. So similarly, when I consider a particular router, okay, I have input queues where like whatever the sender is sending, like this router it may have several connections, several links. Okay, and each link it will have some queues. So this is interface 1, this is interface 2. Okay, so on interface 1 I am receiving some packets, so I am storing them here. Similarly, from the same interface I will also be sending out some packets. Okay, I will be getting some packets on that interface. Okay. I will be getting some packets on that interface. I will be sending some packets on that particular interface. So I am going to have input buffer and output buffer. So can anyone say on what factor the waiting time in this particular input buffer depends?
The number of already existing packets.
Okay, one thing is number of packets Okay, any other thing?
The size.
Size doesn't matter, right?
No, sir, not the size of the package, the size of the queues.
No, no, no. That's what I am saying. Like for example, if I have, let us consider same case, like what we can say. I have a bus stand. Okay. Basically, people will come and sit in different seats. Okay. So bus can carry only 25 passengers per second or 30 passengers per second. Let us consider. I have a big waiting hall where 1 lakh people can sit. Is it of any use?
No, sir.
For example, let us consider TTD. Mostly many people will be going to Tirupati and they will be visiting. Okay, we have lot of compartments, but to get access to the lot, we have only one particular way, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
even if I have larger queue also, that is not going to change my quality of service. So when I cannot change my quality of service, is there any effect on congestion? Like I cannot change the congestion also, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
the queue length doesn't matter here. Queue length matters with respect to discarding packets. If queue lengths are small, then packets will be discarded. But it is not going to change your condition. Okay, maybe you can consider one case like if the packets are discarded at the router, the source will be retransmitting. Okay, that is some indirect method of congestion. Okay, indirect method of congestion. Okay, but we are not looking at that particular point now. We are looking at different thing. So how much time you wait in this particular queue is dependent on what? So it is dependent on how fast this particular router can process that particular thing. Basically, router needs to look into its data frame, data link frame, network datagram, okay, IP datagram. It needs to look and it needs to process, right? It needs to figure out whether I need to send on this link or this link, what link I have to choose. Okay, that is also matters, right? So, how much time you wait here, it is dependent on this particular router processing. So, let us consider here, like you are trying to input the packets at very faster rate, but router is performing very slow. What happens? Congestion will happen here. Okay. Or the other case, I have output queues. Okay, you are trying to process very fast. Okay, you are trying to process very fast, but whatever the links I have here, they are trying to send very slow. Like input, you are able to get at 10 Mbps. Okay, within no time this router is processing, but I have a link which can send at 1 megabit per second. What happens? Even then, your router making everything fast, you are not able to send it. Okay, then also you are going to have some kind of congestion. Okay, so we need to consider 3 points here. What is happening at the router? Basically, whenever some packet is coming, the packet will be kept at the end of input queue. Okay, and you will be waiting there. And basically, this router processes that particular each and every packet one by one on something like first come first serve, something like that, by looking at its routing table and where to forward for a particular destination. It will be forwarding, and the packet, like to forward that particular packet, it has to put these things in output queue. Okay, again there we will be waiting. So we need to consider two issues here. If the arrival rate, if you are trying to come at a faster rate, then the packet can be processed. Okay, that is one case. Then you are going to wait very long at the input queues. Second case, your router is processing fast, but output queues they are being very slow with respect to sending the packets on a particular link, then you will be waiting lot of time in output queue. Okay, so it's something like um, in TTD same like in Tirupati. If you consider, lot of space is available, okay, I'll be waiting, no problem. But if the security people, they are not sending the people very fast, uh, where we basically visit a lot, then you are going to have lot and lot of waiting time. But if they are processing very fast, then you are going to have less waiting time in that particular thing. There again it depends, like people, they won't move fast. Okay, if they are not moving and coming out of the temple, then the other persons cannot enter, right? So here both the things are matters. Like suddenly you consider like on a particular day there were only 1 lakh people, then the waiting time will be less. But if I consider 3 or 4 lakh people are coming on single day, especially on festivals etc., you are going to have waiting time more. Okay, so like that you can just imagine here, like even though they are processing fast, people are not moving outside, so output side you are going to wait. uh, Sometimes because of festivals, input side more people will be coming than what security persons can handle. In such case you will be waiting more time in compartments. Okay, is it clear, this particular concept?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next we have how like network performance we can talk with respect to uh, delay and with respect to throughput. Okay, so like whatever we are describing here, this yellow colored one, this shows what is the capacity I have. Let us consider my capacity is, like the network capacity is 1 megabit per second. Okay, so if I am sending a 500 kbps, will there be any problem? Yes.
No, sir.
So it's like ATM, it can dispense money in every 10 minutes. Let us consider it can dispense money to 3 people. Okay. So if I have anything less than or equal to this one, like within 10 minutes they will be getting money. But let us consider I have 10 people coming for every 10 minutes. Then you will have to wait, right? And if this particular ATM is not working properly, then this waiting, like how many people waiting in the queue, will increase. So same thing, if I am sending it 500 kbps, I don't have any problem. Okay. If I am sending it 600 kbps, I don't have any problem. If I am sending it 700, I don't have any problem. 800, I don't have any problem. 900, I don't have any problem. But as I am reaching this 1 Mbps, slowly my waiting time is going to increase. Okay. So if the waiting time is increasing, and whenever you reach this capacity, I am not crossing this capacity. Okay, I am just at the same place of capacity. But what happens? Let us consider the capacity is 1 Mbps, and I am trying to send it 1 Mbps. Okay, and suddenly it happens like, because of problem in the network, there may be some packets which are lost. So what happens? Those packets will be retransmitted. Again, those will be lost. Again retransmitted. So these retransmissions will increase as you reach this capacity. What happens when retransmissions keep on increasing? In that case, you are going to face lot and lots of delay, and the delay will increase all the way to infinity. Okay, so there will be some situation, okay, where you are reaching the maximum capacity, okay, and you are not sending any new packets, but already whatever the packets we have, those are being retransmitted. Okay, in that case you will be waiting longer and longer durations. Okay, so I can say like delay has negative effect on load. So when the delay is increasing, okay, and let us consider like there is no way in which you can reach the destination, okay, source will be retransmitting, okay, originally it will be sending 100 packets. When the delay is increasing, it will reduce to 80, again delay is increasing, it will reduce to 60, 40, and there will be a position where you will not send any packets, okay, because the delay is increasing. So what is happening here? As the delay is increasing, your load, like how many packets you are sending, is decreasing. Okay. So that is the thing you need to remember. When load keeps on, when delay keeps on increasing, load will be keeping on decreasing. Like you won't be able to send anything after you cross this particular capacity. Okay. So that's the reason we are specifying no packets are being transmitted here. Okay. And throughput, okay, throughput as a function of load. So as I said, what happens when you cross capacity? Like I was successfully sending 100 because the capacity is 100. Let us go to 101. Okay, that 101, whatever the extra packet I have, that will be lost because router will discard that one. So what happens? Next time also, even though I send one, already I have one retransmitted one, so it will be 102. Two packets will be dropped. Okay. Or other case, what I can consider here is I am sending 100 itself. One out of this 100 was lost. So next time, what I will do? Out of 100, I am going to have one retransmitted packet. Okay. So my capacity was 100 earlier, now it reduced to 1. Again, if I consider like there is some problem in the network, okay, again it will be like retransmission will increase to 2, normal load will decrease, and like that when retransmissions are increasing and your normal packets are decreasing, your load will be decreasing like this. So that is the reason if you keep on like increasing your load beyond the capacity, then there will not be any result. Okay. So is it clear? These two things?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So next we will go to another topic where we look at how to handle congestion control. Okay. So congestion control, basically we refer to the thing like maybe we are interested in preventing congestion before it actually can happen, or remove the congestion after it has happened. Okay. So for example, we have our roads. Whenever some minister or CM comes, what they will do? Before congestion happens, they try to make sure like nobody is traveling, and they will provide excellent path for these people to travel without any delay. But in normal time, what happens? They don't bother about that one. Or even like with respect to people also, they try to come in reverse direction, they won't try to follow traffic rules, because of which traffic like these things, congestion will happen. Similarly, like we need to have some kind of techniques which can prevent before congestion happen, or in the worst case if congestion happens, they should be able to remove the congestion. Okay. So two methods, prevention and removal. So if you are able to remove the congestion before it actually happens, that is nothing but open loop congestion control. Once it happens, if you are removing, then it is nothing but closed loop congestion control. Okay. So when I consider open loop congestion control, we are going to have some kind of policies which will be applied so that we won't have any problem of congestion. Okay. But if you are applying some kind of policies which will make sure like whatever the happened congestion is removed, then it is nothing but closed loop congestion control. So let us see different varieties are here in congestion control, like basically in open loop and closed loop. When I consider open loop, we are going to have these things. Retransmission policy is like, so what happens, like for example, you have sent some packet, you do not have any acknowledgement. What you will have to do? You will have to do retransmission of that particular packet. But the question is, when I should retransmit a packet? Okay, that is the question. If you can decide that one in a better manner, then I can control congestion. Okay, so basically TCP does an excellent retransmission policy where it follows two things: whether RTO timeout happens, then you do retransmission, or the other cases when 3 duplicate acknowledgements are received, then also it retransmits. In any of the remaining cases, it doesn't do retransmission. Okay, so that is about retransmission policy. Then we have window policy. Window policy means we have two types of windows basically in data link layer. Sliding window, like basically in TCP we have sliding window, right? So it's like one is go back N, other one is selective repetition, selective repeat. These are the two methods we have. Okay, so when I consider go back N, for example, I am setting 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, suddenly 51 got dropped. Successfully 6, 7, 8 have been received at the other side, but receiver will discard these things because I did not receive 5th one. So in that case, what it says, go back N. That means I have not received 5th one. So again from 5, you keep on sending all the packets. Okay. But selective repeat, what happens? I received 6, 7, 8 properly, but I did not receive 5th one. So I will say, if you send 5th one, that is enough for me. Okay. So which one will be better?
Selective repeat.
Selective repeat. With respect to network, selective repeat will be better. But with respect to TCP receiver, sometimes it will be better to have go back and N, because TCP has to store these things, right? Out of order packets. Okay. So out of order packets it needs to store, so it needs to have enough buffer space available for that. Anyway, like if we go with better congestion, window policy, then we can prevent congestion. Okay. Then acknowledgement policy. We have some kind of rules like when to send acknowledgement. What happens if you are not sending acknowledgements?
We will not know whether the packet
We
that
will
we
not
sent
know
is
whether
received
the
or
particular
lost.
packet has been received or not. If acknowledgement is not received before RTO expires, then packet will be retransmitted. In that case, it is trying to have some kind of effect on the network. Okay. And if I keep on sending acknowledgement, what happens? Acknowledgements are also a kind of traffic on the network, right? So that is also trying to have some effect on congestion. So it should be like, I cannot say like I won't be keeping on sending acknowledgement. I won't also say that I will keep on sending acknowledgement. Sometimes it is like if you slow down acknowledgement process, even the source, it will slow down the process of sending data. Okay. Indirectly it is going to help us. So acknowledgement policy is also important. Discarding policy. Discarding policy, it is with respect to intermediate routers. How this particular router decides on what packets to be discarded when it thinks like there may be some congestion. That is very, very important. For example, if I consider some audio signal. Okay, when I consider some audio signal, there may be a cases where there are some insensitive data. Insensitive means even though I discard these packets, there won't be any effect for the receiver. He can play back that particular audio. So I can discard those kind of packets. But if there are some important packets and if the router is discarding them, okay, there is no point in discarding them because the source will be retransmitting those things. Okay, so your discard policy needs to be proper. Okay, then admission policy. Admission policy is something like you will be sending some data. Okay, whether you will accept that particular traffic or not. Okay, this is kind of related to quality of service. Okay, so switches basically they have to check in advance whether that particular traffic can be allocated or not. Okay, basically a router will be denying in virtual circuit connection if there is any congestion, okay, or if there is any probable congestion before. Like for example, I am trying to get some kind of request to have some virtual circuit, okay. So if I feel like there may be some congestion, I don't accept that particular connection, okay. So like that admission policy using which we can have some kind of congestion control, okay. So this is very very important question, okay, and also easy, like whatever we are considering here, they are very easy, right? Retransmission, like they will ask how congestion control is handled, okay, explain. Then you will have to explain open loop congestion control policies, closed loop congestion control policies, okay. Then when I go for closed loop congestion policies, let us see what are the things we have. This is back pressure, like suddenly this router got some information like there is some congestion, okay. Congestion actually happened here, okay, after this particular thing. So what it does, it drops some packets and it tries to pressurize this particular router, okay. So back pressure, like it tries to control the traffic in this particular path. When this experiences that condition, it tries to reduce here. When this experiences this, it will be reducing the traffic over here. Like they are going to inform that particular thing to their previous routers. But basically, when I consider virtual circuit, whatever the virtual circuit connection we are making, they don't know what is its previous router, okay. In that case, we cannot use this one, but this particular concept was used in frame relay, okay. So they have come up with okay, frame relay. So they have come up with this type of mechanism, okay. So in back pressure, you will be intimating your previous node about this particular congestion, and they will take care of reducing. Like the information will go all the way to source, and source will be reducing the traffic. Then choke packet, like we have seen in ICMP, whenever there is some problem with respect to congestion, explicit information will be sent back to source. Similarly, a choke packet will be there, which will be sent from this particular router which is experiencing congestion to the source, and source can reduce the rate at which it is sending the data, okay. Then we had these two things, right? Implicit and explicit. Implicit signaling is like before something happens, you are going to give some kind of information, and explicit is like after something happens, you are going to inform. To make it clear, implicit is something like there is no communication between congestion node or whatever the source we have, but there will be some symptoms. Based on that symptoms, you need to understand like there is some congestion and source has to reduce sending the data, okay. So for example, source keeping on sending data, you are not getting any acknowledgement, then you should not keep on retransmitting. Source should understand there may be some probable congestion because of which I am not getting acknowledgement, okay. So I need to slow down, like that you need to take decisions, okay. So this type of signaling is there in TCP. Like in TCP congestion control, we have this kind of mechanism. Explicit signaling is like whenever a particular node experiences congestion, explicitly it will be sending some kind of information to source or destination, okay. So the explicit signaling method is completely different from choke packet, okay. Choke packet, we are going to send a dedicated path choke packet from that particular node to source, but in explicit method, we may not be sending to the source itself, we may be sending to the destination also. For example, I have backward signaling, okay. In that case, I may be sending a bit to the source. Like if I have in forward direction congestion, I will be sending this packet in the backward direction, okay. And I have forward signaling wherever in whatever the direction I have the congestion, in the same direction I am going to send this particular explicit information. Okay, so I can say, like, for example, packets are being sent from source to destination. Okay, I'm going to have this congestion in that direction. Backward signaling will be given from intermediate router to source. Okay, and forward signal is in, like, the intermediate router, it informs the destination. Okay, so two cases are there here. Let me draw here. I have some intermediate router, I have destination, I have source. If I give backward explicit signaling information, source can reduce the speed at which it is sending. If I have forward signaling, what destination can do? How it can control congestion? Yes, how it can control? So basically, source will reduce the speed at which it is sending if you are controlling your acknowledgements. Okay. So if backward signaling is there, source will try to send slow. If forward signaling is there, destination will decrease the acknowledgement, so that source automatically decreases the generation rate. Okay. So like that we can have implicit and explicit signaling information, like congestion information. Then we have two examples how congestion is done in TCP and how congestion is done in frame delay. So, like we discussed this particular thing in laboratory also, right? So, initially you are going to have slow start, okay, or exponential increase also we can say. So, 1 byte I will be sending. If I get acknowledgement, I will send 2. If I get acknowledgement, I will send it's not 3, okay, but I will be sending 4. Okay, so like that, 1 byte, 2 byte, 4 bytes, 8 bytes, like that we are going to increase the number of segments. That is what happens in slow start. But sudden, after a particular threshold is reached, okay, then you are going to vary here. So the slow start algorithm, the size of the congestion window increases exponentially until it reaches a threshold. So I have reached a threshold, then I will be going to congestion avoidance or additive increase state. Okay. In congestion avoidance state, what we will be doing, whatever may be the number of acknowledgements I get, for that I will be adding 1. So for example, here they are showing with the congestion window 1, 2, 3, but in general I can consider like at 50 congestion window size, I reached this particular stage. So next I will be sending 51. Next I will send 52. Next I will send 53. But if it was in slow start, I would have sent 100 here, 200 here, 400 here. Okay. So that is the difference we have. First slow start, then additive increase. Okay. The congestion avoidance algorithm, the size of the congestion window increases additively until some congestion is detected. Okay. So far congestion is not detected. When it detects, we are going to have two kind of mechanisms. Whether the congestion is detected by timeout or because of 3 duplicate acknowledgements. This is also we discussed. So it's like I am in slow start, like slowly exponentially I am increasing. Okay. Whenever I reach this threshold, I will be going to congestion avoidance stage. Okay. Here I will be increasing +1, +1, +1 like that. Suddenly timeout happened, I need to retransmit. Whenever this kind of situation happens, I will feel like there is some permanent problem in the network or problem will be there for a longer duration. So I am going to go back to slow start. But I will change some of the parameters. Congestion window size I will consider the starting 1 maximum segment size and slow start threshold. Earlier I had SS threshold. Now I will be making that one as whatever the present window size I have, half of that one I will consider. Okay. So that means earlier I had 100 as my slow start threshold. So I will be increasing and go on till 100. After that 101, 102, 103, 104. At 110 I faced this particular problem. Then this slow start threshold I will make it 55. Okay. Again I'll go back to 1 MSS, right? 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Okay. After that I cannot go 64 because my slow start threshold is 55. Then I will go back to congestion avoidance stage. This is when we have RTO timeout happening. Okay. We have another case where congestion is detected because of 3 duplicate acknowledgements. So here I need not have uh, a strict policy on congestion. So what I will be doing? I will be going back all the way to this one itself with half of window. Okay, rather than going to slow start, I am going to additive increase itself. But whatever the value I have, this congestion window size, I am going to make it as SS threshold. And what will be the SS threshold? Whatever the value I have reached now. So for example, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. Let us consider our size is 128 congestion window size. 16, 32, then 64, 128. After this, I will be going to congestion avoidance. 129, 130, 131, 132. At this point, I got 3 duplicate acknowledgements. So I will make SS threshold like half of this. Okay, half of this. What will be the value? It will be 66. From 66, I will go like 66 plus 1, 66 plus 2. Okay, like 68, 69. Like that we will be going. Okay, so if it is because of timeout, I will be going back to slow start. If it is because of 3 acknowledgements, I am going back to same congestion avoidance stage. That is how TCP is handling congestion. Okay, is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see here we have a diagram. So I am starting at 1, 2, 4, okay, 8, 16. My threshold was at 16. Okay. Then I am increasing. This is additive increase stage. 17, 18, 19. Timeout happened. When timeout happens, what I need to do? I need to fall back all the way to 1 maximum segment size, and my SS threshold should be half of this value. Here I have 20. So next I am considering threshold as 10. Now I am going to see here 2, 4, 8. I will go to 10. After that I will be going like 11, 12. Okay. When I reach 12, suddenly I got 3 duplicate acknowledgements. Okay. So what I will do? 12 by 2, that is 6. 6 is the SS threshold. So I am going to this point, and again I am going to additive increase. 6, 7, 8, like that. Okay. So this picture, maybe it will be more giving more information about how TCP is handling congestion. Okay. Then we have frame relay where we have 2 things: backward explicit congestion information, forward explicit congestion information. Okay. So basically frame relay, it tries to send a bit, okay, 0 or 1 to indicate whether congestion is there or not. Okay. When I consider backward explicit congestion information, my data is flowing in this direction, but backward explicit congestion is coming in opposite direction. Okay. Forward explicit congestion means I have switch here. Okay. Communication is happening. Explicit congestion notification is also being sent in the same direction. Okay. So that is forward and backward. So we have 4 possible combinations. Okay. So forward, like backward is sent to source, forward is sent to destination. So if there are no conditions, okay, you can see here, receiver will be getting forward, will be having forward error 0, backward error 0. Okay, even this one will have both 0. Okay, we have congestion in the direction of A to B. Okay, when I have congestion in this direction, okay, forward error direction, congestion information have to go in this direction because that will be in the same direction as the traffic. Backward it will be in opposite direction of traffic. Okay, so you can see here in this direction I have BECN1, FECN0. In this direction I have FECN1, BECN0. If I have congestion in B to A direction, okay, so it's like communication is in this direction, congestion is in this direction. So forward error correction will be in this direction, backward error correction will be in this direction. Okay, so you can see here FECN 1 in this direction, BECN 1 in this direction. Congestion in both directions, I am going to have this configuration. Okay, so that is how frame relay will be sending some bits to handle congestion. Okay. Then we have quality of service. It is related to the network, how you are providing the resources for a particular network. Okay, so here we need to consider two parameters, flow characteristics and flow classes. So we will see these things. So flow characteristics are like whether you want to provide reliability or you want to provide delay or jitter or bandwidth. Reliability is something like how you want to provide reliability, maybe by using some kind of acknowledgements, okay, and the delay, how you are going to like delay is like maybe by having proper congestion policies. Jitter is something like variation with respect to delay, and bandwidth is like how much bandwidth is available for individual system. Okay, so like these parameters, like you have some idea, right? We are not going in detail, like it's not in syllabus, like how we can have reliability, how we can have delay less, all those kind of things. We are just having the terminology over here. Okay, so if you have lack of reliability, then it's like you won't have any mechanism for sending some kind of acknowledgement. Okay, so reliability is there, then I am going to have some acknowledgement like my packet has been reaching at the other side, which makes sure like we have less kind of retransmissions. Okay, so some applications require this reliability, some doesn't require any reliability. Then delay, when I consider delay, like especially when we have telephony communication or audio conferencing, video conferencing, then we need to expect minimum delay. Jitter, like variation with respect to delay. So when I have constant delay, I can wait some time and start playing back YouTube video. But if I have variation with respect to delay, like even though I wait some time before I actually play that YouTube video, in between I am going to have buffering. Okay, so like that, if I have variation in jitter, it will be very difficult with real-time applications like audio or video applications. Then bandwidth, I need to have sufficient bandwidth to give connection or to have communication without any problem, because it's like if I have bandwidth available for a particular video conferencing, then simply I can have millions of people sending email messages. Okay, so how much bandwidth required for video conferencing is different from how much bandwidth we require for sending textual messages. Okay, so based on flow characteristics, we can classify flows into different groups. Like each group will have similar level of characterization. This characterization may not be formal, like it may not be uniform. Okay, anyway, like these are the flow characteristics we have. Then like with respect to these things, do you have